The Building Brands podcast is dedicated to exploring the journeys of industry leaders who have successfully built a brand. Join me, Robert Royer, president of Building Brands Marketing, and an entrepreneur who has successfully scaled multiple brands as we dive deep into the strategies, challenges, and insights that have shaped the success of industry leaders and provide you with the resources you need to do the same. Building Brands Marketing is a full-service marketing agency specializing in crafting customized marketing strategies for service-based businesses with a creative powerhouse to drive real results. Welcome to the Building Brands Podcast. Welcome to the Legal Leader series of the Building Brands Podcast. Today, I'm excited to welcome Zack England, managing attorney with England Injury Law. Welcome, Zack.
Hey, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, tell the listeners and viewers what motivated you to start England Injury Law, and how did your transition from associate to founder shape your approach to running the firm, Zack?
Yeah, so I've only done personal injury law the entire time I've been practicing now, which is coming up somewhere between 15, 17 years, something like that. Gets harder to say when you say it out loud, but time clicks by. But yeah, so I started out with a smaller firm that I became their first associate and sort of grew with the firm, and got to a point where I enjoyed what I was doing and was able to start drumming up my own book of business, so to speak, with various leads and things of that nature, and kind of decided I think ultimately I needed to branch out on my own. I didn't see really a way to fully advanced to where I'd ever make, partner or equity partner, anything like that. And so made the decision right at 5 years ago to formally take the leap. And so I left July of 2020, right in the heart of COVID, and became of counsel with a group who did criminal law, but I was brought on to do all the personal injury, and built that up. I planned to leave with no staff, no cases, turn my back on everything and kind of fresh start. Ended up taking a few cases, and then about 2 months into my journey, realized I really needed my paralegal who I'd left behind, and snatched her up, and then and here we are. So 3 years go by, and built that leg of the firm up, and then ultimately decided, not sure we could really make a true formal professional bond I think that everybody was comfortable with. And so we decided to, as I say, get divorced before we got married, which made it easier. And so England Injury Law has been in its beginning since a year and a half. And we've grown from, well, I guess we started with some of the staff over at my former firm, but there's now about 6 of us, and we've really come along. Kind of a 2 steps forward, 1 step back type deal, but we're definitely getting there.
Yeah, congratulations. Sounds like you're in the right spot now. And then sometimes it's a bumpy road, and the way you get there sometimes takes running through the briar patch a little bit, but seems like it's working out well for you. I mean, that's a big leap. Is there anything you wish you could have done differently to kind of make that leap a little smoother?
Yeah, I think about this quite a bit, and thinking back when I had really kind of made the initial decision to say I need to start driving my own business and really getting prepared about 5 years ago. Well, five years prior to me leaving, and looking back, I should have. People talk about their list, cultivating your list, and so what I should have done was had some kind of a spreadsheet that had all my old clients, old addresses, et cetera, and had that really, under my arm as I went out to immediately say, hey, remember me? If you do, great. If you don't, remember I handled your personal injury case. Love to help you again. And I think that would have really helped on the front end. I think it would have been instant offense to some degree. I think there would have been in the early years a little bit more of a bedrock of clients instead of kind of starting from scratch. A lot of former clients started finding me on their own, either through Google or the billboards we started running, started kind of generating some buzz. And that would have helped, I think, let people know where I landed, and would have reminded them that, hey, I helped you out in the past. Remember me in the future, et cetera. So definitely that. not really having a cultivated list that I could have relied on instead of kind of building it from scratch once I got out. So definitely that number one. Number two, having more, and this is a total weakness of mine, having more systems and processes in place instead of trying to build it from scratch, kind of having an idea of how I wanted to run things a little more smoothly, especially with a larger payroll and things like that. So those two things, I don't know that you're ever really ready when you do it. And so you learn on the
Yeah.
fly, but those two things I definitely would have changed or tweaked if I could do it again.
It, yeah, those are two solid points. It really emphasizes the importance of data capturing in general, right? Like not just cultivating that list, but so many of us kind of think about data capture as an afterthought. And usually you start to realize that it should have been a larger point of emphasis after it's too late and you miss the boat on a bunch of data capture.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's for that very reason, not just for the sake of like having the context to be able to perform outreach to as needed, but the first party data is so critical in different marketing mechanisms today. If you're going to set up a retargeting campaign, you could set up a custom audience campaign on LinkedIn or Facebook, target those exact individuals if you have the right data. If you want to drop them an email newsletter every once in a while to reach out, hey, this is some things that are happening in the industry that you should be watching to kind of reinforce that thought leadership. But just capturing the data in the first place is the biggest thing, right? So many people don't, like I said, they make that an afterthought. Now, the second part of it, that's the $1 million thing that every service-based business owner or executive goes through, is you're sort of scaling on the fly and you're building these SOPs, systems, processes as you go. And the reality is, if from day one you build everything with the intentions of, hey, can I remove myself from this process, and can everything still run smoothly, right? And if you think of it like that, you'll be light years ahead of most people. I know for me, it didn't start to kind of click until about 3 years in at Building Brands Marketing that, hey, I need to start documenting everything I do and put it down in an SOP. And if it's in my head, it's basically worthless, as far as the rest of the company goes. And so that's always been a big goal of mine, to document things as we go. And I think like that's probably the number one largest lesson I would give other service-based business owners and executives, is doing that as you go and not retrospectively, because it really limits the scalability of your firm, because we can all stay in the weeds in service-based businesses. It's easy to do. There's plenty of work.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said.
Yeah. Yeah. Zach, I really want to kind of pivot and talk about your marketing mix, because you've had a really aggressive marketing mix. You've had exponential growth in a very short time frame, so you obviously have some secrets and some tricks that are working well for you. I know in talking to you leading today's show, you sort of described it as a mixed bag. Some grassroots efforts, some billboards, some social media. What do you feel has been the most impactful method in building local recognition and trust, being your regional law firm?
Yeah, I think the social media exposure of us being local was probably one of the biggest catalysts, I think, to getting us on the map, because I'm from Chattanooga. My wife is from the Chattanooga area. My family is from here as well. So a lot of my extended family is here. In addition, a lot of friends and family all over. And so I already had a lot of social capital in the community. And
Mm-hmm.
starting back, I don't know, 8 years ago, the social media exposure started, and we just started highlighting the things we were doing in the community. Biggest thing I think was some of our work with the Special Olympics that we've done now for the better part of 10 years. That always
Oh, very
seems to
cool.
capture a lot of attention and comments, always for the positive. People really resonate towards that. It's been incredibly rewarding, for me and our firm to help out. And so I think re-emphasizing to the community that, we're local and we're helping out local entities, whatever that might be, was really kind of the foundation of what we needed. And everything else just kind of would springboard off that. We done mixed messaging with radio, TV appearances, billboards, etc. But all that really seemed to circle back to, hey, I love what you did. We saw that post or saw this, and so just constant reminders and just
Yeah.
being out in the community, I think went a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing is consistency. Zach, I want to circle back around for a second to the Special Olympics thing. So
Yeah.
that's close to my home. I have a daughter who's Down syndrome. It's a big part of my life is the special needs community. And I like that because you have a cause that you're contributing to. For me, that creates a personal connection in areas like right away, you saying that I now am more personally connected to your firm at this point. Could you double down and describe in a little bit greater detail of, you know, that cause and how you've kind of picked that out as a cause and contributed to that cause?
Yeah. About 10 years ago, a good buddy of mine I knew was doing Special Olympics. And I said, "Hey, man, you might need some help. I'm just asking." Yeah, and he said, absolutely. We're always looking for help. His sister has Down syndrome. And so through a group called Therapeutic Rec Services, it's a government-based, city-backed
Mm-hmm.
program here in the city, helps individuals with all types of disabilities come together. And so we started doing Special Olympics basketball was our focus. I mean, there's all
Oh,
kinds of
cool.
recreation stuff, but that was kind of a passion of mine. And so started doing that with him. And it would just, we would have it's kind of 2 seasons through the year. We have a local season that runs for about 6 weeks, and then you have a local tournament that then allows you to go to state up in the Nashville area. And that was a big deal. We've done that a couple of years, but it just kind of becomes a recurring. I don't want to call it an obligation, but it's a commitment that allows you to put it on your calendar. You're going to be there. It's just kind of a built-in accountability. You're seeing a lot of the same players year after year.
Yeah.
Seeing a lot of the same parents and caretakers who are awesome and beyond grateful that we're doing this because it just gives them an opportunity to, at times just get out of the house, get active, connected with the group. And that's some of the most rewarding aspects is to see the other individuals who are not participating, but, are directly affected in a positive way. So that is sprungboard into, I've been on the Down syndrome board of Chattanooga, helped out with their buddy walk, their annual deal and things of that nature. I'm no longer on the board, but we sponsor a lot of stuff. We'll do the face painting, the tents, the swag, always a good time. And the families are always happy to see us for sure.
Man, I love that, Zach. Appreciate what you do. That's awesome. There's two key components in there that I really like as well. Other than the obvious, which is, I appreciate what you do for the special needs community, but leveraging relationships, right? You're building new relationships, nurturing those relationships in a way that's authentic and genuine. And I really like that approach to it. But secondly, by picking a cause, going after a cause and really just diving in and being a contributing community member to that cause, you're also serving a dual purpose that is important to especially the newer generation of employees. All service-based entities generally struggle with employee retention, and that's a challenge of all of us, right? Well, by you picking a cause, that also probably can help some of your employees and clients for that matter feel like they're with a brand and with a company that cares about its community, which is important to a lot of the newer generation of employees, especially Gen Z. So I like that. There's kind of some dual effects here when we talk about marketing with service-based entities. It's not just new client acquisition and retention; it's also talent retention internally, right?
Yeah.
So I love that. And
yeah, it's been incredibly rewarding. It's great for my family. My kids have got to experience it and help out at a young age, and so it's allowed them to acclimate to the program. And then the school that my kids attend has a phenomenal inclusion program. So it's really just kind of come full circle for us.
And that's really neat.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, one of the things about law firms that's interesting is there's this like direct to consumer outreach approach, like you're describing, social media, billboards, that sort of thing. And then there's almost always a B2B extension of it, of like other referrals. For example, in your business, I believe you mentioned that, chiropractors is a common industry that you get referrals from. I'm curious, how did you initially approach that outreach, if there was any, intent there, and what's helped those relationships stick over time to get more of those B2B referrals?
Yeah. So the firm that I was with initially had a huge chiropractic base, primarily with one outfit who had several offices all over the city, and they were a great resource for us to refer clients to if they needed treatment. Additionally, the chiropractic group itself was good on
Mm-hmm.
referring, patients who had been there previous or who just showing up for the first time and had been in a car wreck. And so, as I was sort of pondering, the next step and how to drum up some additional business for myself, I remember thinking, well, surely there's another chiropractor in town who would be willing to do personal injury, who'd be grateful for our services. And
Yeah.
so it's amazing, what's out there if you start looking. So I remember just one night just Googling, chiropractors in Chattanooga and just kind of poking around and seeing who might be, willing to work with us and what have you. And additionally, what I would do, I had such a large volume of cases. I would come across a client who went to XYZ chiropractor, never heard of them, but I'd work the case. I'd call the chiropractor's office and say, hey, I'm just touching base on a bill balance, going to try to get this case resolved. And a lot of times they were just kind of waiting for the inevitable, oh, you're probably looking for a reduction, or you're probably telling us, the case settled, you can't find the client. They were looking for bad news, I always felt like. And
Yeah.
they'd tell me the balance, kind of say, yeah, there it is. And, you could tell they weren't real optimistic or just kind of going through the motions. And then what I would do is I would get the case settled. And my goal was, especially with a new chiropractor, is I wasn't going to cut their bill or ask for a reduction, even if it meant cutting my fee. I was going to do what it took to get that first check in the door. And so the case would settle. I would take the check in person and I'd say, hey, I'm Zack England. I talked to you guys a couple of weeks ago or whatever. Here's the check for, Joe Blow, the patient. And they'd look at me, look at the check, look back at me like, is this real? They make sure it was full, and they'd say, okay, there's no catch. I said, no, here it is. Just wanted to introduce myself. Might have some goodies with me or something. I'd say, send another one to me. I'll get you paid. And that would just kind of start a relationship to where I never wanted to show up empty handed. I always wanted to have something to give them. And a lot of times that would lead to a conversation of, who do you guys refer to on PI patients and things like that? And a lot of times it'd be, well, we were using this one firm, but they kind of went cold, or we were using this guy, and he just kind of kept asking for reductions, and it kind of just became not worth our time. And so
Mm-hmm.
it was just kind of nice to find a fresh start for a lot of these groups. And so that's what really helped. I bragged to people. I said, I swear there's not an attorney in town who's worked with more chiropractors than me. I promise you, I've worked with all of them, and I always just tried to pay them. That was the biggest thing. I listened to. You ask a chiropractor, what are your biggest complaints about an attorney relationship on a patient? Is, hey, they won't communicate with us. The case drags on too long. They call at the very end and say, hey, this is a bad case.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, in reduction, they won't tell you if they reduce their attorney's fee. They won't show you the settlement sheet. They just, kind of flounder out there. And so if you can, not every case is perfect, but if you can get around most of those complaints, it makes for a better relationship. And chiropractors learn too that this is a volume game. 1 out of 10 cases may work out, and that's just part of it. But the other 9 do, and you just have to keep pushing forward. So that's been a huge basis as well for my business, was just having the rapport and trust of these various chiropractors.
Yeah, I think one of the things I really like about that is you clearly have a pulse on kind of the approach to relationships in the community. So I'm a big believer in face-to-face contact, and how that can help nurture a relationship a little bit more. I'm kind of an old soul, right? I'm 36 years old, but in my soul I'm probably like 60.
Yeah.
I still value the face-to-face interaction a lot, and especially reading your community and the way that your community, their love languages are, so to speak, or that sort of thing, right? So I like that you put the face-to-face component on there, because I think that goes a long way. And there's ways, this is what sometimes we have to prioritize our work and figure out what's most important. Where can we make the most impact as, the face of the company, right? And I love that. I think that's a really good approach. Is there any advice you would give to other firms looking to build similar referral pipelines on where they should start?
Yeah. Look for groups that are really going to need you and be appreciative of you. There's a lot of attorneys who are very dismissive about chiropractors, for example. They think they don't help the case, or
Yeah.
they've had a bad experience with a chiropractor. And in that situation, I would say don't let that one bad apple ruin you, because I've been in that situation. Don't let that sour for everybody else.
Yeah.
Uh, and so no, figure out who needs you to solve a problem. And for instance, chiropractors they're not always treated very well by health insurance companies. It's very risky for them to rely on the patient client to pay them out of pocket directly. Uh, Find somebody that needs you, that you can help, and I think that goes a long way. Keep an open mind. I don't want to propose to a client, a chiropractor, that it's going to be a string of cases that are going to pay the house off of
Yeah.
and make you super wealthy. This is a way to really address a lot of soft tissue injuries in cases that resolve over time and ultimately work out for everybody.
Yeah. Set proper expectations. I like that. So, Zach, I know a lot of professionals, they really struggle with overanalyzing marketing. Before launching campaigns and even post launch, they have like a really short string on it and they're overanalyzing very early in. How have you embraced trial and error to find what resonates with your audience best when it comes to your marketing approach?
Yeah, the first year we almost went into it with we're not sure what's going to work, but let's have a bare bones marketing budget, and then just kind of fill in the blanks from there. Let's try to see what works, what doesn't, or just what really popped, I guess, and seeing what, even if it wasn't just direct clients, what were people in the community saying, about what they liked or didn't like, and that was everything from what kind of content we were posting on social media, what kind of swag we were buying, what kind of events really to sponsor. And so I've listened to a lot of marketing podcasts and attorney business owner type deals, and listened to a lot of insight on that. And one great, and I can't remember who suggested it, but it was an attorney. I remember him saying, anytime we get pitched with a marketing or a sponsorship idea, we always ask, how can we flip this into our benefit? It sounds selfish, but they're saying, hey, we want to do this, but on the flip side, how can we repurpose this? How can we make it evergreen? How can we really just piggyback off it?
Mm-hmm.
And so I started doing that more, to say, hey, I don't mind doing this even just as a favor, but what's a way for me to, kind of flip this around for really my benefit? And that's really helped. Going after that 1 year and looking back and going through the red line, and saying, hey, this was kind of a waste. Really didn't see the value in this. It just felt right, but really wasn't clicking, that kind of thing. So just trying to keep an open mind, but also be willing to cut bait when you're not comfortable, I think went a long way for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I also think that, hearing you talk, one of the things that, so, you have to look at things on, hey, how can I leverage this and, try to create some ROI, even if it's just a community contribution, things like that, because it's, business, right? I think one of the mistakes I see a lot of firms do, especially when it comes to like community sponsorships and things like that, is they just pay the sponsorship and they expect like some immediate ROI, but they don't work the sponsorship or they don't work the relationship opportunity there, right? It's like people who join the chamber and never go to any chamber luncheons, events, networking events, or anything, and then they go, "The chamber did nothing for me." And it's like, well, that's you got to work the system, right? Like in a
Yeah.
good way. I don't mean that in like a negative connotation,
Yeah.
and you clearly have. So I mean, hats off to you, Zach. I think you're on the bud of something great with your firm. Sounds like you put in a lot of the work. The thing about you is you've spent a lot of time really perfecting your craft and becoming really good at what you do, rather than like straight out of law school, opening your own practice, kind of figuring it out as you go. So you're able to walk with the utmost confidence right now, right? So because I've been there, done that just as much as anybody else I'm going to sit across the desk from. So now all the marketing becomes more authentic and more natural, because 50% of this business is the confidence, right? Uh, it,
Yeah.
Service-based businesses when it comes to thought leadership, expertise, things of that nature. So hats off to you, Zach. Where can our listeners and viewers find more about your firm online?
Yeah, englandinjurylaw.com is our website. We are on, I think, pretty much every social platform. I'm sure there's one or two we're missing, but heavy on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all over. And hopefully the Google search leads to us as well. We're trying to build those 5-star reviews, but we're local, brick and mortar, and just look for us anywhere you can. Zack England, England Injury Law. That should be pretty easy to find.
Beautiful. It's been a pleasure having you on the show, Zach. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you, brother. Talk to you very soon.
Thank you.